We are the earth. So their fight to take care of the water, to take care of the forest, to take care of the medicine is not their fight, and I coming from Europe to support them. This have to be my own. This is my life. It's not that, and I come like, I come to help them.
It's ours.
I mean, it's ours.
Yes.
And until we don't do that, well, we are thinking that we are something very special, or we are better, or we are done, and we are going to support them. I mean, come on.
Peace, everyone. Welcome to Masters of Ceremony. I'm your host, Andrew Ascari-Poor, and I'm so excited to release this week's episode with a dear brother and somebody who I truly consider a wise elder and teacher, and that is Carlos Pussetto. I first met Carlos here in Sweden back in October of 2021, where he was sharing a weekend of Temescal's sweat lodges, and I had the fortune of getting to meet him and eventually help him out with leading these sweat lodges and assisting him in various ways. And I knew right away that the moment I met Carlos, he was somebody who had such an amazing journey and story that I wanted to get to know more of and that I wanted to eventually share with you all here. So I'm so happy that Carlos was willing to sit down with me in person to have a beautiful discussion that centered around so many important topics that I'm sure many people will appreciate getting the chance to hear. So just to share a little bit about Carlos's life, over the course of his life, Carlos has had an immensely transformative and inspiring journey. Carlos studied psychology and sociology at the National University of Humanities in Argentina and was active in the resistance movement against the then military dictatorship. In 1976, Carlos was unfortunately kidnapped by the army and placed into a concentration camp until 1979, enduring years of torture and unjust imprisonment. Being one of the only survivors of this concentration camp, Carlos eventually escaped to Brazil and ultimately to Sweden as a political refugee with the help of the United Nations. In Sweden, Carlos began his journey back to life and found healing through art, music, poetry, dance, percussion, theater, and eventually became a teacher of all of these modalities to hundreds of people throughout Europe. In the early 1990s, Carlos was introduced to the teachings of the Camino Rojo, sacred fire, and the Tolteca traditions of the ancient Americas. For over 30 years, Carlos has been following and sharing these teachings and has completed the cycles of Vision Quest, Sun Dances, and has participated as a runner in the Intercontinental Journey of Peace and Dignity Prayer in 2000. Through decades of study, direct experiences, and guidance of various teachers, Carlos has decided to dedicate his life to the betterment of Mother Earth, to the path of the heart, and to the elements and cosmos, with the intention of restoring balance within himself and to help others along the way to find a path to their own healing. Currently living in Spain, Carlos offers Temescals, Vision Quest, and other sacred ceremonies on his land and all throughout Europe in the hopes of allowing others an opportunity to reconnect to themselves in a pure and honest way. So that was a mouthful, but that is because Carlos is a man who has lived so much life and who has such a rich story that biography doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. And I think what I enjoy most about Carlos is his willingness to share his journey with us all, and the lightheartedness and the fun and humorous way he shares his medicine and his teachings. It's a great balance because I know he is someone who has endured a lot of difficulty throughout his life, and the fact that he was able to come out on the other end in such a beautiful and prestigious way is deeply inspiring to me. So we discussed so many things in this episode. It's actually more like a casual conversation between him and I, in which we kind of even forgot the microphones or the cameras were there. But some of the things that we discussed was Carlos's experience in the concentration camp and how he felt upon escape and eventually gaining asylum here in Sweden. We spoke about how he ended up healing himself in a way in which unfolded very naturally. He found poetry and art and dance and percussion and began utilizing these modalities, not with the intention of healing himself, but just with a curiosity that eventually did lead to him healing himself. And I just thought that was so wonderful in the way in which he shared that. We spoke about the way in which he eventually met the plant medicines for the first time and some of these ancestral ceremonies from the Americas, and meeting his teacher, Alfonso Perez, and just his entire journey. For me, listening to him speak was very reflective of where I am on my point in my journey. And I really enjoy the way Carlos speaks, and I pray that you all can follow his his communication methods in a good way. We spoke about how Carlos wants to be remembered as an artist first before anything else, and that this whole idea of labels and putting people in boxes and giving them titles is demeaning and diminishing to people's true potential in life. We spoke about the universal truth of all spiritual doctrines and practices, and what it means to truly pray, what it means to truly be grateful, and so much more. I think that's been enough of me talking. Let's get right into Carlos's amazing episode with me on Masters of Ceremony. Thank you all so much.
Okay, Carlos, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Welcome.
How are you feeling today?
I'm good. Need a little bit more rest after the weekend, but I feel good.
Yeah, we had a pretty big weekend together, didn't we?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, today is Thursday, and on Friday and Sunday we had 2 amazing temazcals, sweat lodges for those who don't know.
Yeah.
And I myself am feeling good, but also still need a bit more rest. I feel so honored and happy to be able to sit down and have this conversation with you. And although we just met this Friday, I think we can agree that it feels like we've known each other for quite a bit of time.
That's true. Yeah.
That's so good for me, and it was such an honor to be able to assist with the fire and bringing in the rocks, and for me to be freshly arrived here in Sweden. For those who don't know, that's where we are currently, Onsala, Sweden. To come here and be able to sit with traditions and ceremonies associated with the Red Road and the Sacred Fire and all these different practices that I've been engaging in over the years, it's been one of the biggest blessings for me. So I just want to extend a prayer of gratitude for your life and for you being here doing this work in Sweden. And from the amount of time we spent together, I saw very quickly that you have such an amazing story to share, not only with myself, but with whoever listens to this podcast or whoever wants to hear some guidance from a character such as yourself. So yeah, we can speak about many things, and I don't want to ascribe any labels to you, because you're a man who is a man first, and you're not any of these other ideas or things, but some would call you a medicine man or a sun dancer or a vision quester or a musician and all these things. But I would love for you to introduce yourself and speak a little bit maybe about your upbringing and how we met in this way.
Well, first, thank you very much. To say that for me was a pleasure, was a gift to, I say to you, to meet you and that you appear just here and in that moment, in that moment of the work here in Sweden. So, and I don't think that this is a casualty either. I mean, we say all the time we are in some way we're re-encountering now. How I arrived here? Well, it's when I think about that now, when you were saying that we will make this interview, this work, of course, my mind naturally, spontaneously began to see the whole why here like a movie. I was speaking with Caroline before yesterday about that, and I see my life and how the white wolf it's like to see a movie, because I never have when I was a teenager, I never had the plans to leave my town, and that was when I was a teenager in Mar del Plata in Argentina, when I was 18 years old. I was going to begin to study in the university. I went to study psychology and sociology. And the time was, think about that. That was at the end of the 60s, beginning of the 70s. What was happening in the war? It was the May 68 in France with the students' revolt. Still was the Cuban Revolution, smoke, influencing the whole war was bubbling up and so on.
Yes.
So our generation was I was growing up in that situation. And that happened, and sometimes there in the architecture faculty in the town, a group of fascists killing students. There was an assembly of students there, only they come and kill somebody. And it became a big movement in the city and revolt and fight with the police and da. And suddenly I find myself, for an emotional reaction, I was not political conscious about nothing, but it was something strong because they killed And that began. And after I come in the university, the faculty of psychology, and some months after I began to to be active, organize it in a group in the university. And I went deeper and deeper and deeper. And that ended, don't make it too long. That was 1973. Perón was coming back to Argentina. And, the whole process finished in the 76. Happened this military, civilian, ecclesiastic, empresarial coup, in Argentina. So they began to kidnap people and not to send people to the prison in a legal way, with a legal process. There was 46 concentration camps.
Wow.
In Argentina. And when I see concentration camp, I mean that was concentration camp and extermination camp. I was kidnapped 22 November 1976 by a group of the army of soldiers, and then I disappeared from the war because this concentration camp was what's the name? Underground. So legally, I have not nothing in Argentina. If the police check I'm clean like a princess.
Wow. And did this camp have a name? This place?
That was La Perla. That was in Córdoba. It was the second one in Argentina. The biggest one was the ESMA, Escuela Mecánica de la Armada, in Buenos Aires. And the second biggest one was in Córdoba. Well, think about that. I was there. They kidnapped me in November 76, and I lived. The last day I was in the camp was at the end of between Christmas and New Year, 1978. It was 1 year in a kind of house arrest. They will decide what they should do with us. A group of survivors, people was 17 in that group, that they was keeping alive us for different reasons. The most of them unexplainable reason, because the question is like all the survivors. After that, I was reading all the books of survivors, people from the concentration camp in Europe. And after such experience, the question of the $1 million is, why me? What I'm alive,
Yes.
So you have to, this is the thing that's most difficult, or I don't know, question to. So
yes, they have a term for that. It's called survivor's guilt.
What?
It's called survivor's guilt, they call it, when you go through a very traumatic experience and most people die, but you survive.
Yeah.
That it brings a lot of feelings of almost even guilt, of saying, why me? Why did I survive?
Just that. So there was kidnapped approximately between, nobody knows exactly, but was between 2,800, 3,000 people. And the most of them was killed in torture or what's the name? Abducting and killed directly.
Oh, wow.
And many years after, thanks to the mothers, to las madres de Plaza de Mayo, the mothers began to exist, to know where all the kidnapped, all the disappeared people was. It's a long process. The thing is that it ended with a big process, to all of them, all the militaries and civilian people involved, responsible for that. And the most of them are in prison now.
Even now?
Yeah, they are in prison. Yeah. It was a kind of exceptional situation, because I don't see another country in the world that was happening that way. Okay, it was the Nuremberg process after the Second War, but not all of them are there, because most of the Nazis after that was to take into work in the United States, in other countries. You know that story. So that was good. So in the concentration camp, in this moment that they put us in house arrest, because 1978, when there was the football championship that was happening in Argentina, was coming to Argentina commissions groups from the Red Cross and Amnesty International. So they began to move the stuff on the concentration camp, and there were little people, because they took for them to neutralize us, to destroy us, they took only 1 year. No, destroy, I mean physically, military.
Yes.
So they knew what they really should do with us, the survivors, and we was in some kind of house arrest. And the first chance I get, I ran.
Wow.
I leave the country. I went to Brazil, because I didn't have passport. I didn't have no possibility to get it, and went directly to ACNUR. This is the Office for Refugees of the United Nations, and was automatically recognized as a political refugee. Yes. Get a passport from the United Nations, and they got me 3 chances. They said, well, you can go to Denmark, to Belgium, or to Sweden. And I didn't know so much about this country. My question was, which one is the quickest one? I said, well, yes. Belgium and Denmark, it can be 1 year, 1.5 years. Sweden is 3-4 months. I Sweden. So after 4 months, I arrived from Rio de Janeiro to Sweden. With in that time, in my mind, the purpose was to write the report of the camp, because it was very important, not only for myself, but because for the story, for the people, for the political situation. That because it was some countries that denied, it's no concentration camp in Argentina. No, it's not. The most of the countries that was involved in the same political purpose. No.
So there were some people who didn't believe that this war even happened in Argentina. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was to write the report and to kill myself. So without dramas. And I was 1.5 years writing the report. I get help from Swedish journalists. I was received here. That's my second country. I mean, now I see that I couldn't have a better choice of country than this one, because it was like going from that hell to a freezer, you know.
Yes.
And get the containment and security to do what? So when the report was ended, that with the suicide and kill myself was still like, I was not so stable, so to say, in that time. I had a lot of things to work.
So let me ask you, because I'm very curious, because it's so rare that you get to speak to somebody who went through these terrible things. It's almost unimaginable. So as much as you're willing to share, how were you processing the level of torture and interrogation and murder and all these things that you experienced in the concentration camps? What kind of state of mind were you in when you got to Sweden? And what were you thinking about humanity as a whole, kind of existential way of thinking? What was on your mind?
Well, I can say that my plan or my purpose of the thing was first and everything to write the report. That was the most important thing. and to, in some way, make sure that will reach people, that will, you know. So when I had it ready, was some television programs, interviews in newspaper here in Sweden, and I sent copies of the report to Amnesty International, to Red Cross, to different politicians here in Sweden, in Argentina, in Spain. It was, and after that was more report from another people, because more groups or people arriving to different countries in Europe with their own experience in different camps in Argentina. So what I was thinking was, I can say that I didn't have somewhere in my life I'm going to do like that, and about humanity. I was absolutely, deep sad. And sad and deep depression and confused. And I was doing things like spontaneously. I didn't say, for example, well, I shall do that like a kind of therapy, or I shall do this, the other, or I shall do... Things were happening like for survival, I think. What I was doing was I was playing guitar in the kitchen, writing poetry, putting stuff out, but not with the purpose, well, I play guitar, or I shall write to work with that. It was only happening. It was like living day after day, you know. And, well, approximately like now, it's this living now and here. So the whole world, I didn't know that I was writing or painting or playing guitar and composing like a therapy. It took 10 years to me, looking back, I say, well, my why was, because it was the guitar, the writing poetry, the painting. When that come, the percussion and the drum, they took over and everything disappeared. And after that, I discovered that the why of heal myself was occurring, happening in that way. Everything. When I discovered that, I put all that, my experience of the service to work with people, like how art and creative stuff, an instrument can help you in a lot of stuff. That is only to paint or to play music, for to be a musician or for to be a painter or something like that. No, it's for to work with yourself. Now it's another concept of art. So the thing was moving. I finished with the report, and what did I do? I didn't come to the university to continue my studies in psychology, or I was thinking maybe I study architecture. I was really confused. I didn't know. And I come in an art school, Nickelvik Skolan in Stockholm, was there 2 years. Until I went to... I heard people play percussion, samba music in the place I was living. I was living in the place in Rinkeby, a quarter, like was considered the ghetto of Stockholm, a lot of immigrant. And just because when I have been in Brazil, those 3 months waiting for the passport of the United Nations and the visum of Sweden to travel here, I took contact for the first time in my life. I listened to a group of Brazilian people playing percussion in the beach. And it was for me a big contrast. Think about the darkness, the big darkness in the prison, and before the prison, suddenly we saw living in a beach in the south of Rio de Janeiro, and the sun, the football.
Wow.
And suddenly I always liked the drums, but I never played more the manifestation, the tugurugu. No. I love the drum, have a special power to me. So to hear that group, I always remember that, because that played a big role in my life, the percussion and the drum. When I come to Sweden, I went, well, what shall I do? What did I not do? This is art, this is psychology, and confused. I began to study with a guy from Uruguay and another from Brazil, drums. And the drum was taking me more and more and more and more and more. And I was studying until after some years, I built up a group with children from the ghetto and young people that began to grow up again. And suddenly this little group was growing up and began suddenly get the role as an instrument to work against racism and integration of people. Because, in that group were people from different countries in South America, from Finland, from Europe, from North America, and with applying, it's not necessary to say, where are you coming from? It's no division.
Yes.
It's no cultural division, no biographical, no historical limits. Here is about to be together here and now, and the power of samba, that is such energy that goes up.
Uplifting. Yeah.
So it was an integration stuff, and suddenly because the newspaper and television, and we get a really good economical support from the government, from the Culture Ministerial, for to sustain the project during 3 years. Was a lot of money that time. So from that little group, with racism, and become more professional. We was working 9 years in that project. And there's come a moment that I become a little kind tired of that, because it was like a package. That have another role, was more institution and a tablet, and become political stuff in between. And I met a woman, one of the biggest teachers I met in my life, a woman from the Czech Republic, a teacher in song, voice teacher, that I began with her as a student, and she told me to work as assistant with her in the Czech Republic and in Germany, different countries. I have been working with her 5 years. Without to speak about shamanism or stuff, she was a woman that through the work with voice help the people and move the people to the thing was stand up for what you really are, stand up for the truth, whatever is the truth, and and the emotional honesty. So that gives me a lot of instruments, wise to keep working. At that time, I had through her, I began to give workshops in percussion in different parts of Europe, in the level of institution, like the art school in Holland, in Amsterdam, INRI, International Institute in Berlin. The thing I was working with percussion, my work no was like samba, like, that kind of stuff. When I was living in Argentina, I come back a little bit. When I was living in Argentina, when I leave Argentina to Rio de Janeiro, I did it by bus. My brother was with me. I took my brother with me. He come with me because they could kill him or my family. They took represalias. Yes. Like the mafia. If you run away, I kill your father, your mother, and I know that they did hundreds of times. In the bus, I read for first time an interview to Carlos Castaneda. It was in English, I remember. I was a little bit and that, but I was getting enough to be really come inside myself.
Wow.
Think about that. When I think years after, because there's a lot of things happening that was happening and I was doing that, but if you in that moment ask me, Carlos, why are you doing that? I say, well, I don't know, because I really don't know. I'm doing that. When I was coming to Europe with this stuff, to write the report and kill myself, it was one of the strongest feelings I get in the concentration camp after that experience, that I was destroyed, that there was nobody inside me, because that was the purpose of them. Destroy you first, military, physically, politically, ideologically, until if I put you in freedom, no word, remember, because it's nobody inside yourself, you know? So I was having that feeling, and I when I was reading the poetry or the things, besides poetry, the thing that I was writing in that moment, trying to write, give the form of poetry, was about that. I was the feeling I wanted to kill myself because it was nobody. The last I have to give was to write the report. I was no more for me in life. And when I read this interview to Carlos Castaneda, the journalist, the name, remember that, was Alexandra Corvalán. I never shall forget that. When I was reading that, and I began to take contact with this concept like la importancia personal or personal importance, something that we call ego here normally. It was like, I began to discover that the thing that I lose, that they destroyed it in the camp, was my description of life and my description of myself.
Yes.
You understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. So after I discovered that there is a lot of people that can be many, many years making workshops and works and stuff to be free from that, for the power of the ego, to put the ego in the right place, and I get it like like that, and I didn't know, approximately like that. It's not that I discovered it, I say, oh, wow, now we see it. No, it was an intuition, It took many years until I could confirm that makes sense. Then, when I was working with teaching, when I was giving workshops and classes with percussion, I was giving class, I was having maybe one Monday was free because I was like Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 days a week with children, 2 days with teenager performance. The weekend was years, there was only, it's just because I get tinnitus, for example, for so much. I was using, after that, when I go to Sweden, I described by the books of Carlos Castaneda. My first contact with the traditional word, the red Y or the peyote Y. And I read all the books and I was amazed because I was not asking myself, it is true, Don Juan existed, don't existed, it's a novel, it's what? For me, it doesn't matter because I get a lot of concepts that works for me. So we're trying to use a lot of concepts taken from that in the percussion class. In the percussion class, I was amazing about the thing. I was interested about what's happening, who is playing the drum, when you are reeling the drum. I knew that was a deep, old tradition and corp of knowledge coming from Africa behind the playing drum, like the samba. We in Occident banalized that. No, this is, the different patterns you play. They are evoking and moving different kind of energy. You go to Candomblé people in Brazil, this figure for now it's like, this samba. But originally, there was pattern to call the energy vibration, the Yemanjá, the spirit of the water, this one for to call, and that was the thing that moved me,
Yes.
When you play drum, who is playing the drum? Is the drum playing you? Are you playing that? All that stuff. And I was working in a beautiful festival for musicians in Germany, Musenberg Festival. I was 6-7 years working there. And I was with the drum and the samba and all the stuff with the German people and with the Castaneda's, Tolteca's stuff. In my own way. I remember that now and sometimes I smile because the innocence of some kind, but that works,
Yes.
So sometimes I finish one class, is coming a German guy and say to me, you are Carlos, the one with the samba and Tolteca stuff. I say, what are you laughing about? What is funny with that? No. He says that I just come from Mexico the last week. Huh? Yeah, and what? And look, he opened showed me photographies in ceremony with old people, and I was like that.
Wow.
And he said to me, would you like to come to a peyote ceremony? And I say, yes, of course that I would, but I don't have the money to go there. No, it's coming a chief here to the Black Forest in Germany at the end of September. Nothing like that. At that time, I was living in Switzerland. I say, of course I'm coming. So I come. I remember I took a train from the place I was living in the Italian Switzerland and arrived to that and have my first meeting with the Indian people.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember
jealous.
how disappointed I was when I met Alfonso, that was the shaman, the chief, and Knut, because I come with that, that picture that you have about the shaman.
Romantic idea.
Yeah. Yes, when I go and say to them, the hair like that, Levi's, Adidas, the packet of Marlboro here, the pint of Coca-Cola there, the coffee here, a jacket of leather with that eagle here. But normal people know this stuff, nothing, not a feather, nothing. And they was laughing about the German people that was coming with feather hanging and jackets like that. She was saying, what the fuck, are you going to a carnival? That was Alfonso Perez. After that weekend, it's not that I went to that for my first temazcal in Ipi and my first peyote ceremony. You know that I went there and after 3 months, after that weekend, it was every weekend he was picking me from Switzerland, taking me to Berlin. He has arrived to to Germany a few weeks before I meet him. So I have been working and learning with him very close.
This is Alfonso.
Alfonso, yeah.
Alfonso Perez.
Alfonso Perez.
Yes.
During 12 years, I become his hombre del tambor, his drum man.
Yes.
Because the percussion, because the percussion was another stuff, it's not only about the technical stuff. So through him, I was traveling a lot and meeting other people from Mexico, from North America, and I was learning and meeting myself with them. Well, that's until now. I have been working with Alfonso up to, 7 years ago. The last time I saw him for 4 years, 5 years in ceremonies in Catalonia, in Spain.
Yes.
So to Alfonso, I met Aurelio, El Pancho, Francisco, now Violin. He died in Journey of Peace and Dignity 2004.
Uh-huh.
A big man. I have him in my heart still. I was remembering him and praying for him. Now we our last word with the defuntos the last weekend.
Yes, yes.
So, and then in that way, I was moving to different countries. I was trying to follow Alfonso. I met him in Germany. I was living in Germany then. He moved to Spain and I moved to Spain. Well, I was 1 year student in London. I was doing voice and movement therapy. It was the only time that I was 7 months that I was not participating in ceremonies. And when I moved to Spain. He was living here. So I did my vision quest in the beginning. It was 2001. 2001 was my first vision quest.
And this was where?
My vision quest, I did it in Basque, in El País Vasco,
Mm-hmm.
in the north of Spain. After that, the sun dances. I have been dancing with Alfonso. I have been dancing in the País Vasco. I've been dancing with Wambly, Jose in Mexico. I've been dancing with Kim Massa in Mexico, Wambly. I have been dancing with Masatsin and Wambly again in Portugal. And I began to run Temascals in 2004, I think was the fact. 2004 was my first Temascal run.
Wow.
I think. So it was a kind of, I look to that and it's a kind of integration of everything. I mean, when I remember that when I discovered that first ceremony in Germany with Alfonso, when I discovered that for me, I was a little bit tired about having working as a percussionist, as an actor, as an incidental composer in theater piece, having international tour with really important groups. No, I don't say important group because I was important because all the time I have been playing with people that know. I always like it to play with people that knew a lot of more than me. I have more fun because I learned it a lot, As an actor, I was living in Switzerland. I have been giving classes of 5 rhythms, dance, and I was little. It was the ego everywhere, and I was this competition I couldn't find there. And when I find that, I feel that I found it. That's that. So I live the painting, the composing, the music, the dance, the theater, everything. You said this is the why.
And what was it about this first ceremony with Alfonso, peyote ceremony, correct? What was it in this ceremony that you fell in love with, if you can put words to it?
Well, it's...
is it the structure, the ritual?
No, I feel the perfect. When I come to it was so much, it was so much information, so much happening and contradictory thing, because in some way, I was absolutely, from the first moment, absolutely surrendered to that power, to that medicine. And the other way, I was listening to them and said that they are absolutely crazy. They are speaking to the stones. I was trying to stone. I want to smoke what they are smoking. They take this kind of stuff in the moon and speak to the fire and say grandfather to the fire. And I will have to be the effect of the peyote. I didn't believe that until I get the tobacco in my hand. And when I took the tobacco in my hand and breathed and would say something, I had the feeling that, here is something happening.
Yes.
This is really happening.
It's real.
So what's happening? First that this Temazcal was, the hardest Temazcal I've been in my life. Why? Well, because in my innocence, I was living in Switzerland. I was 3 or 4 hours by train to arrive to the place. In the morning, I was having a picture of what a ceremony will be. So I shaved my hair. Shave.
Yes.
But shave not only like that really, like that. You know, when you shave yourself, when you are knee shaved, this is very sensitive. You do.
Yes.
Only that you feel. So I come to a first Temazcal with this shaving in the morning.
Freshly shaved face.
Was there a lot of German, when I say a lot of German men coming like that with feathers and the chanupa going up from there. And Alfonso, when that kind of people come, people like says, so I have a lot of shamans today here. Warriors of power. Put 52 stone, put 28 in one time. So it was like a hell, you know.
Yes.
I didn't run away, literally. Didn't run away from that Temazcal because I couldn't. Because it was full with men, the most of the way. I think that there was only 1, 2 women there. German guys like that, and I was sitting there, guys, and it was... I was absolutely terrible. I really was feeling that my brain would... ¿Cómo se dice cuando hierve?
Explode?
Was bowling.
Boiling, yes.
And Alfonso was this to me, and suddenly he began to support me. Carlos, come on, fuerza, Carlos, and singing. I still remind the song. Sing, it's going to help. I remember the song. I get, what the fuck, I shall song. I remember that I began to say, el corazón me está quemando, el corazón me está matando, like a cry. I stayed there, and when I went out so in 4 legs and stayed to the left of the door, and I was sucking there and crying like a child, like that. It was a kind of nostalgic. It was not painful. It was a nostalgic. It was like I suddenly remember something that I had lost. I don't know how.
Wow.
So they covered me with a field,
A blanket,
and leave me there half hour or more. And so I was crying a lot. And I woke up and was another fight. Went to the ceremony, the peyote ceremony in the tipi. And I really was suffering a lot in my head because they were there.
Yes.
And Alfonso said, that was another thing that said, he's strange thing is happening here. When we put the purpose with the tobacco before the Temazcal, I remember that I was thinking so much about what they are doing and what they are doing and what the fuck is that, speaking with stone and thinking with that. I was with my mind like that. So I said, okay, Carlos, the only thing that I can do was my purpose. So I don't want to think anymore. I don't want to have thoughts. I want to receive. So I said, oh, grandfather, fire, so please burn my head. And I remember that Alfonso and the fireman, Knut, they looked to the other, so like that, and I didn't understand. So maybe I saying stupid things, Then, when I was in the Temazcal and I was feeling that it was burning my head, knee shaved, I could make the association between what I was saying.
Yes.
So I learned that be really careful. What do you express with that?
Yes, the power of the prayer with the tobacco.
Power of the prayer.
Yes.
So when we come in the peyote in the tipi, Alfonso said, "Can you, Carlos, come and sit here?" and put me to the left of him, close to him. Was the place of the drummer in that moment. And the thing is that it was the only. After a while, when the ceremony was ended, I checked it because I saw that that's not true. Here is some. I was in the only place in the tipi that was in the lining. It was a hole. That's something I don't know how. It was a hole, some burning hole in the tipi. So with that in my head, I was the whole night sitting here, and I was having here like somebody was doing. So wow. I was putting my dad, it was refreshing myself, And I said, well, that can't be a casualty, the ingen slump. It can be a casualty. So it was a couple of things happening. That sense of that you have sometimes, the one is reading the ceremony, I'm sure that you get it, that you say, he's reading my thoughts. Is he inside my mind? I think about something, he's like that, or just the opposite. So that was. We get a really nice connection with Alfonso. That time was really, really nice. With he and Knut, a German man, that was his fireman then. And I remember that I asked him, well, I have been reading Castaneda. And he hated Castaneda.
Yeah. People either love or hate him.
Yeah. And I asked about it's you and reading that. He said, well, that's the work we are doing, but in a more Sylvester way, he said, in a more simple way. But this, that's that direction. Have to do with Toltecas. And well, I say to you, it was in a point that said when I did this ceremony and I mean the medicine and the fire and all that is more the peyote, more than that. That I say, well, I find out that I finished with theater, finished to want to teach percussion, finished with everything. Because this is the truth, this is the why. Took 5 years to go to ceremony and to eat medicine until one time I remember when I hear a voice inside myself. Let's say the voice of the peyote, let's say the voice of the spirit, let's say the voice of my unconscious or my head, but was about to say, you are stupid. It's not about to put it apart. You should have lived in the theater, the painting, the thing is to integrate all of that.
Everything.
And to put it behind a bigger purpose, So I took it again and began to work in some way with classes, as a result of that, I discovered in a natural way. So I put all of that stuff. You see, a way to work is I really, really, really care. I'm not the only one. I'm saying that in me coming a kind of spontaneously unconscious way. If you shall align the uterus, the mescal, and the fire, you really shall align that. That shall be a circle, that shall be a circle, not something that is approximately the proportion and the distance between the uterus, between the altar and the fire and the half moon is not like half night. There shall be a half moon, and the distance should be 3 circles. This is sacred geometry. You really shall do that. And we made the altar and the colors and everything had to be clean and blah, blah, because why? But naturally because it's instruction. Yeah, that's instruction, but especially because it affects your psyche.
Yes.
It's like you come into your room or your house, and this is absolutely, and your psyche feel you come in a space that things are harmonized and there's so much information that is, and you feel good. That is the sign. Yes. That's natural now.
Yeah, even many days later, coming back to the altar of the Temescal and still seeing all the flowers, just seeing it right away helped me feel at peace again. So these designs and these ways of building the altar is not just for beauty. It's for a real effect of the heart and mind. Yeah. Wow. So there's so many questions I could ask you, Carlos.
Then to end with that part, I discovered, because I began to study. I mean, I was teaching some stories to you that about the way to do things.
Yes.
After the instruction given, you say, okay, that's the instruction, but I have to check it. I have to know in my high cap, because if I had the responsibility to work with people and work with the open heart and open minds and work with the sick, it's a very, very sensitive work. It's not a joke. You can be really destroyed,
it's serious.
Or be in total imbalance, because this. It's medicine, it's like everything, in the way you keep a good relationship with that. But that can destroy you. It's like water, fire. The fire gives you life, but can kill you. The water is the same, and with everything. That to take care of the shapes of the colors, all that stuff. I have been in Mexico. I have been dancing in Mexico, some dancing there, and I have been there. Not only dancing, I was in the journey of peace and dignity. It was year 2000. We was running from Ushuaia to Mexico, 7 months.
Yes, that's
with
what I
the
wanted to ask you
Mapuches,
about as
you
well.
know that word.
Yes.
So I was really trying to learn and to listen to them and to go to people to really understand and go to the story of Temazcal, how is the difference between Temazcal in Mexico and the Nipi from the Lakota people or Navajo people, all that difference and ways to work the dance. I discovered in Xochitl La Flor y el Canto. This is all Toltecayotl. Tolteca, I don't know how it's the name in English. That is very much more, thousands of years older than we know as Mexico and Mexican. Now, Mexicanity and Mexico. Mexico was founded in 1824 to begin. And the Aztecas represent is now the period of decadence of the old knowledge. So this is the pre-classic one, that is the Olmecas one, that they put all the fundamentals of knowledge.
Yes.
The classic Tolteca, yes, was the splendor of that culture there, yeah. And after that is coming the Azteca and they, the Mexican thinkers and people that that represent the decadence of that. Now when it's mixed that with European come and the state is formed, when I'm speaking about the Olmeca and the fundament is like Olmecas, Toltecas, all the grounds of the work we are doing is coming from them. I mean, think about that they have the concept of the mathematical absolute zero at the same time or before the Egyptian people.
Yes. Wow.
For example, about the count of time, the calendar, the days is very much more exact than the Gregorian. We used to mean months and years and how to you divide the dice and all that stuff. So you there discovered that, for example, the instruction from them, when you read it, it's pure poetry. You read the text of Nezahualcóyotl, for example, that is one of the most known. He was government, architect, poet, writing, shaman, and you read the instruction, the philosophical, they have, on the level of philosophy, they have all this stuff, how long time, why are we living here if this is so short time, what is the purpose to be alive, what is real and what's not real. I mean, the question that all the old people think is in all the countries have been doing, like Aristotle, Plato for many years ago in the foundation of Occident, or the Sufis,
yes.
or, this time. Well, they have if we speak about philosophy and art, they are one of the six most important civilizations in the world, like Taoist, Christianity, Sumerians,
People in the West don't bring them up too much. You don't hear about this in history too much. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
now he's discovering that because here come first, in Occident come what? The Buddhism and the thinking from Orient began in the 60s.
Yes.
He began with the stuff with meditation. We was living in the mind, the Occidental, trapped here. Buddhism was during 20, 30 years, and after 1990, the end of, in the 80s, began to come this stuff. Now it's kind of shamanism and Indian stuff, and in good ways and in not so good way. But I see that energy, that knowledge is flowing in the whole planet. You have, I don't know if there is a country that there is not a Temazcal just now.
True.
No, because you read the Sachilatl and Fire and another groups from different lineage. In South Africa,
Asia,
everywhere.
Yeah.
So this lineage, this La Flor y el Canto, because this is different frequencies coming. It's different lineage. For example, I could, in my experience, observe that it is. This kind of mystic Azteca militarist. They are one that did the ceremonies. They are the woman here, you have to resist and to the warriors. And this is another that were more with sensibilities, closer to art. Tolteca means artist, but artist of yourself.
Yes.
You know, so their concept, La Guerra Florida, the flowered war. What's the flowered war? Is the war against your personal importance? Is the cleaning of yourself until you can identify with your essence? No. Like, and then when you are in that level, you discover that this design, that Zen Buddhism, that Sufism, Rumi was writing the same kind of things, and then you go deeper. And what's about? I mean, what's about the ceremonies? About all that. Well, it's about to be yourself. All that work. I mean, for to transform it, or for to be true. I mean, the work is in yourself. I mean, you know, I can learn all the protocols in the design. For example, in a four tobacco ceremony or Ceremonia Maria Luna, I know the first was the tobacco moving that way, and first was that, and after is coming the medicine, and the medicine was the way, and every the one, the design of the fire, the colors, where is you put the drum, how move the sound, I can do 20 sound dance or 40, but if I don't work with myself, I mean, like I've been a fucking good technique about that stuff. Yes. But I can keep being so jealous, envious, or stupid or ignorant inside myself in relation with people and life. Like,
yeah, it doesn't matter.
So the thing is how we integrate until we reach the point that I'm speaking with the firemen. We are working hard. I mean, be aware that you are not working with someone outside. You are working with your man's energy. That's your sperma. When you are taking it inside the temazcal, you have to be clean. You are penetrating a sacred vagina. You see that is the belly of the woman, and you are penetrating that. So you have to be really clean of that. After to be clean of that, you need a work in yourself. You know.
Yes.
In some place they call it for neo-shamanism. In Peru, there is people that I discover that the objective of this work is only to work with yourself. I think that this is an integration of the both too. Because this with I don't know, I feel that this with the outside world and inside world, then the secret is in your perception of things.
Yes.
This is a moment that is not outside, that is not inside. I mean, what you feel or do here affect that, and what's happened it affect you. So it's not like there is out and there is in. It's like when you try buffo. It's no out and in. There is no one that can speak or think about out. The unity is happening, and there is no more words. I mean, this disappeared now.
Yeah.
So art, spirituality, science, and politics, I think that we are living at a time that is just the same. I mean. You can pray for the water. You can pray for water, or spirit, for the water, and the purifier and the healing of water. But it's not enough. I mean, I say, yeah, you pray, but what have you been doing the last week about that? Do you think that Monsanto and Nestlé that want to privatize water, that we are going to stop that with a prayer? Say to people, some people be angry with me, say, what are you speaking about? I mean, you remind me, when Europe come there, they say to us, Galeano write about it, they say to us, close your eyes, pray, and they go, we was having the earth, we was living there, no? They call it America. We was living there, we was having the earth, we were living there, and they come and say to us, close your eyes and pray, and give us the Bible. So when we open the eyes, they was having the earth, and we was only praying.
Wow.
So I feel that this is, of course, that this have to pray. Of course, this is fundamental, because it's like to have a contact or to contact the ground, the fundaments of everything. It's like in the Vedanta or in the Ayurvedic text. I mean, what is called for the Akasha, the Akashic register. I mean, it's a matrix, energetic matrix first, energetically, that make it's possible. For this organism to be like it is because energetically it's a kind of matrix that for some kind of vibration, I just say, manifest like, ta-da, this is Carlos and Andrew, or table, or whatever. That is, of course, that is necessary, and it's the beginning of everything, and sustain everything, and it's the door to have contact, have a relationship with unexplainable thing that we feel, but we can't speak about them. Called good, called Wakantanka, called Tunkashila, called the Tao, called the Zero Absolute. Doesn't matter. But you have to act.
Yes, you need the action with the prayer as well.
In the medicine wheel is the West. We have the spirit or the energy or purpose. We have the heart, the capacity to feel, the capacity to think, and to act. And for to be complete, we need to habitate. Therefore, I have a purpose. I feel, I think, I act. I make a coherence of what that. If not, we can be trapped in one of them, or we trapped in only the spiritual one, and I'm going to be like,
Yes.
la 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 la. Or I can be trapped in the capacity to feel, and I be so romantic and stuff, and it's only like that, but I don't think, don't act. My feelings like, pff. Or I can be like Occident, trapped only in the mind.
Yes.
Really good, necessary. I can make computers, amazing machines to think, very complicated, but I'm destroying things, I'm making a disaster. This is violating, raping my own heart, my body, my instinct, raping the air, raping the women. Or be trapping in the materia, only in the physicality and, senses. And so we need the force, because in the mountain, they have this design. We want 1 year here, 1 year here, 1 year here, 1 year here, we feel that this stuff, no?
Yes.
So, actually, it's very simple and it's very old. In Xochitl, la Flor del Canto. And sometimes people say, well, Carlos, you are a therapist, shaman, what are you? A poet. I want to die as a poet, or an artist put there, but it's pure art, man, but real one.
Yes.
Art
with heart.
Yeah. Because we are creating things all the time. I mean, inside you go deeper in that, and you discover that we could speak about everything we have been speaking here. We are speaking in terms and using words and concepts that are coming from the red, white, Tolteca, Lakota, all that. But we could speak about just the science, speaking in terms of quantum physics or subatomic physics. Everything is related. We are a relation. First, we were thinking with the Newtonian description of the world. It was the sustaining of reality was material. The little one was the molecule. Say, well, this is the little, more, less than that can be. I say, no. They open and say, this is atom. This is more. I say, but more than that, and they open the atom. And they say, no, it's this more smaller thing. So there is an electron, and protons, and neutron, and suddenly, and you open it, this is nothing. Because there is big distance between the proton and electron, so it's emptiness. I say, and then what? What? Because that means that the universe is sustained by the mind. It's a big mind. And I say that thing is happening because it's a relationship between things. I mean, think about the planets moving around the sun. This is in a perfect equilibrium, a rhythmical one, an harmonic one. And all the things is a result of a relation. We are all that. It's a relation of relation. We are relative. It's everything. Ako metakiasi. That's the sign. So when some people say, oh, metakiasi, you have no idea what you are saying.
Yeah.
You think that it's only say, hello, or thank you. No. That concept, metakiasi. Everything is related. It's pure quantum physics. So what? Quantum physics began to discover, after Einstein, when did it begin? 1920, 1930. David Bohm or this Weissenberg, I mean, all that science, man. Those people knew that for 5,000 years ago, man.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. Because it's not only speaking about our relations to the mountains and the rivers, it's speaking about all of existence. And I think that's the core of a lot of things I've heard you speak to, that it doesn't matter that you're chasing this dream of the red road or this sect of shamanism or this or that at the fundamental heart of these practices, it's all the same. It's becoming more connected with yourself, with those who came before you, with those who are to come, and with everything in existence. And I think I'm seeing that more and more now being here in Europe, because I'm being exposed to different people with different ancestors and different traditions. And something you spoke about often this weekend was saying, hey, like, I know everybody is happy I'm here doing this Temescal, but your people, your ancestors were doing very similar things. And it's important to learn about what they were doing as well. So, Carlos, today, I know you see what I see because I'm a part of it, but so many young people are chasing the vision and dream of shamanism and the medicine man and medicine women, and specifically the Native Americas. They're very attracted to that idea of medicine work. But if we really look at each and every one of our own ancestral practices, we all have our own traditions. So what advice would you give to somebody who, who wants to walk this path of spirituality and with coming back to themselves, but are convinced they can only do it by studying the red road or this or that? What advice would you give to someone to connect with their own ancestry?
Well, there is a thing that we have to learn to put it more in tune, for example, because think about that. All that information, all those concepts, all this what shamanism or red white, or that is coming from America, from the north, from the center, from the south, to Europe, which are in the 90s. That the thing is, when I have been observing that in the ground, the concept of perception in that cultures, in that corp of knowledge, is different to the Occidental one. Why? Because here in Occident, the perception is a mental thing. It's from the mind. You perceive with your mind. The psychis in the Greek mythology is a woman with white clothes with a lamp that is working in darkness and naming things. Church, window, human being, floor, but it's the mind. It's the mind. All our science is developed through the mind. This is the scientific stuff. It's mind stuff. Go and speak to some science men about, but what about your feelings? Say, what are you to do with that? In the laboratory, it's no feeling, there is nothing about that. It's a mind, and mathematically in the science, that. So perception is a question of mind in Occident. There, in the origin, when you learn it with the Tolteca stuff, and Castaneda helps a lot, and people that really are keeping that knowledge, it's a question of the body. It's your body, it's your physical body and your energetical body that perceive.
Yes.
It's the body, it's the whole body that perceives. It's like you have to be a complete. It's not only the mind. The mind is a part of that. But fundamentally, the perception is bodily. It's just because when you go to a Temescal or a ceremony, they say to you, you are not here to think or to understand. You are here to feel. Why? Because we are hanging here. And we need to go down, not only to learn, to be shaman or for whatever. For yourself, if you don't have contact with your whole organism, well, you are only a little part of yourself, and that is going to be mad. Because the mind alone, disconnected from the rest, is mad. It's pure madness.
Yes.
And if somebody don't believe that, okay, look at the situation of the world.
Yes, exactly.
No, and the situation of the mind of the people. I mean, millions of examples. So, the thing is, when you are going to approach this kind of knowledge, and you really want to know or to integrate or to heal yourself or whatever you want to call that, you have to know that you have to change your mind. You can receive these instructions, this kind of instruction, with the same Occidental mind that you was shaped. Because it's like the program in a computer, you know. It's a man, Nacho, from Venezuela, a musician, composer, that is coming. He's doing his last Vision Quest this year. And he composed a lot. He was really impressed about that work, and he composed a song that in one part I say, fuck, he come only 1 year, 2 years, and look at that. He write a phrase that say like that. In Spanish is, para que este conocimiento te llegue, te tenés que transformar. For this knowledge, to get this knowledge, to get this kind of understanding, you have to transform yourself.
Yes.
If you don't transform yourself, you are not going to get that. You are going to get the superficial part of that. So it's not only about to go and learn and repeat. I usually say to people in the world, don't believe nothing. Everything that I say, don't believe nothing about what I say. Not because I lie, but because if you don't experience it, it's only a verbal mind agreement that doesn't help. You need to really embody that.
Yes.
Here, the learning, the understanding doesn't come through intellectual agreements.
Yes.
That comes through resonance. Another comes from physics. Things feel. You put a guitar there, and I push the D in the E there, and this D is going to do without nobody touching. Without happening the sign.
Yes, resonance.
I resonate, I send a vibration, and without to speak, you are going to feel it. If I will feel here in bad humor or sad without to express nothing, I don't need to say that. You are going to feel that.
Yeah.
Or the opposite, you know. So we are resonance creators. So if you come and begin with this work, this time if you want to go and work with Buddhism or meditation, all that stuff, you need that mind is really good to create the machines, logical understanding, but this is it's like that.
Yes, a small amount
of reality and what it's all about.
Yes.
So if you want to stay here, stay here. But you are going to need 2 million sessions of psychoanalysis, gestal therapy thing to the mind. That, I repeat again, you can go to psychoanalysis or stuff your whole life, but until you don't get really touched, not from here, in your whole body, that you really feel it, you know, that you really cry for that, you really love that with your body and your heart, doesn't help.
Yes.
Because what's help? The relation, recognize the relation.
Yes.
And then you find humility and be humble, that you are a part of a big organism, and everything that you do is going to change something in reality. Yes. Then you have to take responsibility for everything, you know.
Yes.
For everything.
Wow.
Not only in the ceremony, without how you make foods, how you make love, how you take care of the relationship with your friends, with the plants, especially with the animals. Mm-hmm. It's like, So, and it needs that change, this abusive predator mind, because our language in the structure is a predator one. It's a subject all the time acting in an object. I'm dancing the music. Come on. If you are really in the dance, it's no one dancing, it's no music. You are a part of a breathing that moves you.
Yes.
In the moment that you are aware of yourself, you fuck it. You lose it. It's like you are making love, and you are, if you are making love and you are thinking, oh, this is so good as you are thinking, you are not there. It's true. It's so simple. You are not there.
True. Yes. So a lot of people in the West, I think a lot of people of my generation, they approach these practices with the mind and with the intellect. Yeah. And we see it with people who, let's just say, for example, drink ayahuasca 200 times, but nothing happens inside because they're approaching the practice with the mindset that they need to understand and put a name and a label to everything they're feeling. Whereas what you're saying is the true way to connect with these practices is to come back in touch with our body, with our hearts, with nature itself, and to do it in a way in which we don't allow our mind to continue this separation. because a lot of what you're speaking of is us separating ourselves from everything else, saying this is me, that's Carlos, that's the table, that's this. It's a whole culture of separation that has come from this Western intellectual way of thinking, which, as you said, is good for many things, businesses and computers and innovation with technology, all those things. But it sounds like what you're saying is to really connect with the healing power of these traditions is to look at it in a very different way. Yeah. And I want to know, as you being, I don't know exactly how old you are, but I know you've been here for some time on this planet, and you're seeing, I know, the younger generations being more and more attracted to these indigenous ways of life. How does that make you feel? And do you have any warnings or advice for young people who are attracted to this shamanism or these indigenous practices in a romantic way like you once were, or like I once was? Because I think we can agree that, as you said, some of this work, although it can be fun, some of it's very serious. And the work with these plants, with peyote and ayahuasca and San Pedro, it's important to be aware and mindful of the power of these teachers. So what advice would you give young people who maybe are seeking a vision or seeking experience with these plant medicines?
I think that what I say, that you need to transform yourself. And when I say you need to transform yourself, is that you really need to die. You really need to die to experience the depth of that description of the world you have. Because it's very difficult. It's not easy. It takes years and years and years and never ending, So the medicine help us to make that disappear, that description, and you are confronted with a word that you don't have words to do that. You don't know, you don't understand, and you, for fear, for anxiety, for that, the mind needs to I need to understand that. I need to understand that. The thing is not understanding. You want to control that. You want again to take this experience and open the box and put it in the box and say, yes, that's that. That's what the peyote and that. Then the mind again, fuck the experience, repeat it. This is one thing. And the other, that you have to be really honest with yourself in the way that, why is the reason? Why is the reason? Are you going to take peyote? Or this you want to be a shaman or medicine man or women because you want to be something important, If you have been a man, for example, that have been exploited in a factory or in an office working from Monday to Saturday, 8 hours a day in a very boring stuff that is killing you because you are obligated, because you have family, and you lose the respect for yourself, and suddenly you discover that you can go to a mountain, 4 days in the mountain, and when you come down and you say to your people, well, I was 4 days without water, and they say, wow. And you feel, now I'm important. Now I have power. And you keep in that way. And now I'm going, because I do the sun dance, wow, I'm going to get the most beautiful women. I'm going to be, it's hundreds of cases like that.
Yes.
So you have to be, it's a war. It's the flower, la guerra florida. You have to be really, really, really put attention on that. It's no holiday from that. It's all the time. Which is the enemy? Yourself, man. Because this is so simple. You really want to see the magic of the world, all the beauty, the deepness of unexplainable thing, but put your ego away, man. That was the peyote, the ayahuasca, the stosai. It's like that mind controlling is like neutralized.
Yes, it's not allowed.
The Temazcal is not giving you new information. The Temazcal, what it's doing is taking here that stuff that doesn't allow you to see what's up.
Cleaning.
No? And sometimes you open that, and you, in the beginning, see things that you maybe don't like or uncomfortable. I don't know, the psychological aspect or level of or life or the conformation, structuration of this personality. Bond, relationship with father and mother, all that conditioning stuff. It's a part that is, it's not like, sometimes you take peyote, not like you take peyote or San Pedro or ayahuasca and automatically, happiness. No. on the medicine, and during the night, maybe you have 3-4 hours that going through darkness or with ayahuasca and to the whole stuff until you understand something or put it out and then. So it's like, but it's like that.
Yeah.
And I think that another thing that is really, really, really important is like, because you say, I mean, we're taking rapé or ayahuasca. The rapé are good about the medicine. Well, are you conscious that the people that's making and sending it for you to heal, they are being killed just now there. So how you deal in your mind or in your heart or your body that you are still a colonizer. We have decolonizar. Decolonize our mind. All of us. The people that are living there, because it's now, all of them that are living there in Mexico are free people. No. All of them are you from me have to decolonize, because that's very, 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 very old. All of us have to disintoxicate us physically, emotionally, and mentally. So the thing is, when you're going to do that stuff, and when you say, well, I want to support them, I've been speaking with them. What to support them? You have to make that fight have to be your own fight. You are a part of Mother Earth. You are an Indian, man. You are already, what is to be an Indian? I mean, like I learned it from Alfonso. Where are we speaking with these German people? No, we are Indian. Say, okay. Where are you born? In Bavaria. And in Bavaria, were your ancestors using feathers like Lakota people? No. Then what are you doing? We are the earth. So their fight to take care of the water, to take care of the forest, to take care of the medicine is not their fight, and I'm coming from Europe to support them. This have to be my own. This is my life. It's not that, and I come like, I'm coming to help them.
It's ours.
I mean, it's ours.
Yes.
And until we don't do that, well, we are thinking that we are something very special, or we are better, or we are done, and we are going to support them. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. When they was fighting with the police in, I remember, this conflict with the water and this tube of oil in the United States for 2 or 3 years ago.
Standing Rock.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was in my house was Lee Plenty Wolf, one of the leaders, for when that was happening. And they, for example, was a kind of like this water just before this hill, the sacred one, where the cemetery is, where the Ancestral, and the police and the army was there. And they was in the water, with the water here in the middle of it, and the water with gas, pimienta, all that.
Yes, I saw.
And they was singing, laughing in the middle of that, and say to the police, man, we take care of the water, it's not for us. It's for your children too, I know you. Your name is, and you are living here, 1 kilometer from here, and you are living, your family is living there. Your children are going to be poisoned. This is for the whole of humanity. This is not only for the Lakota people only. That's that.
Yes.
And this, this is so simple. Because it's a kind of, at the end, it's a kind of empathy. It's a kind of sensibility. It's a kind of, it's just that. So, it's not their fight. It's not their war. So if you are going to those ceremonies, be really careful. Because if you are doing it, I know a lot of people that are doing it because they want to be shaman. I did the 4 weeks, and I want to go for the 70 days, and I want to do 16 sundance. And you are looking for power, man.
Yeah.
That is going to destroy you. And you are going to contagious to
continue.
To give it that sickness to other people.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Because other people want to do the same,
Mm-hmm.
You are looking for power. You are trying to feel all your currents of human being as you fucking boring life. It's not about that. You are misusing that. In the same way you have been using water, air, food to make money, to get benefits of it, to rape it. Now you are going to do the same with the medicine. And I promise you, the medicine is going to destroy you. Even you are with the most beautiful feathers, inside yourself, when you go alone, and sleep. That is you are going to confront with that. It's not Skype. The truth is going to reach you.
Yes, one of my teachers, one of the biggest lessons they've provided to teach me is that the first thing you need walking this path is humility.
Humility, yeah.
It's the first thing, the second thing, the third thing. Because without that, yes, you're going to be confronted with your own ego. Yeah. And I think that's something that everybody experiences at some point when they're working in this way. Because in life, especially as a young man, many times people feel a sense of power and importance when they start this path. And there comes a period where you always get humbled, whether it's by the fire or by the stones or when you're on the mountain. So for me, I want to speak about that next, the Vision Quest, because you're helping lead Vision Quest in Spain, right? And for me, I just did my first Vision Quest in March in Ecuador. And that first year of humility, that practice of spending time on the mountain with yourself, there's no hiding from yourself. Nobody's watching you. Yeah. No one's taking care of you. No one's coming to check on you. And you're there with your thoughts and your mind. And there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. You're sitting in the same place, no food, no water, no shelter for 4 nights. So this experience of Vision Quest for me helps get rid of all that other bullshit, because it makes you face yourself and see where you have been maybe contributing to this idea of the ego and power and all these things. So I would love to hear what you think the medicine of Vision Quest can provide to young people and older people as well, because now you're seeing many people do Vision Quest.
The first one is to listen, to learn to listen.
The first year of Vision Quest.
Yeah, yes. I mean, all of them, all the work. We think it's like another example is to be grateful, to say thank you. We think that we know how to listen. We think that we know how to be grateful, how to say thank you. It's a learning. We need years to be really grateful. I mean, it's absolutely different to say, thank you, Andrew. And I know, this, when something is over, something that was giving pain, or was a big stuff, and suddenly it's solved, and you feel this, wow, thank you very much. There's something happening here. It's not this, thank you. No. And really, to find the voice, to sing with gratefulness, to find the voice to express the vibration of the thanks. Thanks because I'm alive. Oh yeah, I'm very grateful that I am alive. It's mind stuff. You can feel in the vibration of the voice now. And another thing is, I mean, it's really important. You can do all the Vision Quest. You can do all the Sundance. And you shall know that at the end is no a glory. It's no people with trumpets saying, ta-ta-ta, you did this. And a lot of beautiful women waiting for you. And you are there and on the spot and on you. And you say, yes, that doesn't exist. That's the humility. You do it because you are a alive creature. I mean, what do you do that? Well, I do that because people say, well, Carlos, why are you keeping to that? You know what? This work with the Temazcal, with the ceremonies, with all the stuff, is the best way I find in myself. Is the one that I love more, for to give back a little part of everything that life was given me.
Yes.
I have a compromise. I have that. Well, I have to do it because I have a compromise with that. It's natural. I mean, I was given a life. After everything that I have been through, I'm here alive. And this is not a casualty. So the thing is, like I won the first prize in the lottery, but the biggest one. Like we were speaking, the thing is, what shall I do with this prize now? So it's my way to give it back a little bit to the, call it what you want, Wakantanka, universe, life, the absolute true, God. my father, my mother, my family, everything that was happening in the war, everything the people that die to, that make it possible that I'm alive, is to give it back. It's not like, well, I have to give it back. No, everything is like that. All of us have to give back.
An exchange.
You are being supported by air. We are so many that say, I breathe. I say to people, they must breathe. And so they say, well, so maybe you understand, man. Allow yourself to be breathing. Because this is I breathe, you think that you have the power over the breathing. Yes, it's really, you try, well, stop to breathe now during a half hour. You can't, more than 3 minutes, 4, 5 maybe, you're trying it. And why not? Because it's stronger than me. What is stronger than you? Life is all the time. But that force, what we did in Occident, this is air, this is oxygen. Just that. You know, in Nahua, I don't remember how it sounds the word, but the concept that we have, for example, for oxygen, that we call oxígeno, if you translate that word in Spanish or in English, is the force that moves the heart.
The force that moves the heart. Wow.
It's just a absolutely different vision. So again, when you come to all that stuff, you have to transform yourself. Really, you have to rearrange your mind. It's like a computer, you have to reset absolutely. Put out all the system, you have to be reprogramming again. How? Well, in relationship with nature. You have to find a way where science, technology, and nature is one of the same. Like Tesla. Mm-hmm. You see again in the same.
Yeah. Wow. Well, for me,
I want to say, sorry, Andrew.
Please.
All that I'm telling and saying to you and sharing, we are speaking. I'm not trying to explain the universal truth of things. I'm only sharing my experience, because if you ask me, well, I say to you, are you? I am a dog with legs. I prefer that. I don't want to have some kind of certainty. Mm-hmm. I am certain that I'm going to die. And I'm certain that I put my hand in the fire, I'm going to be burned. But after that, everything is poetry and art and creating and sustaining and loving and, you know.
Yes. I agree, brother. And for me, it's similar to what you said, is that it's not that these practices of the way that you and I work is the only way.
Yeah.
For me, it's the way that resonates in my heart. It's the way that makes sense. Some people choose to teach through art, and some people choose to teach through dance or these things. But for me, and I think for you as well, and for many other brothers and sisters we know, to work with the fire and to work with the songs and to work with the stones, it's our preference, our style. And I know on my path and my journey, it's taken many years to find a system and a structure that I said, wow, that's what resonates in my heart.
Yeah.
And
I recognize it.
I recognize it, exactly. I always say my first time in ceremony in Ecuador, it felt like a return to being at home. When I was in ceremony for the first time, I said, this feels so familiar.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel new. It feels very familiar. And, my mother is Jamaican and my father is from Iran. So 2 very different places with very rich ancestry. But when I began doing this work and I was sitting around the fire and we were making the offerings and prayers, I could feel so deeply that my people were doing these same exact things. Maybe with different plants or maybe with different songs, but the same things.
Yeah.
So something I try to always encourage people is not to have any guilt about doing these temescals or ayahuasca or this or that, because in some way it's helping us remember the feeling that our ancestors have done something of their own.
Totally agree.
In the Sweat Lodge this weekend, as again, for those who are listening, we're in Sweden, and you were very encouraging to everyone here who is Swedish to sing Swedish songs and to remember that there's Swedish traditions. And you didn't say, only sing the Lakota songs or sing the Mexican songs. So I would love for you to speak on that just a little bit, of people connecting with their own history a bit. anything you have to offer regarding encouraging people to connect with their own ancestors? Do you have any suggestions?
I don't understand the question. You have something to recommend?
Do you have a suggestion to younger people who are always looking at other cultures? Do you have any suggestions for them to connect with their own
Be
ancestry?
yourself. I mean, be yourself. And the thing is, we have to be completed because, I mean, we have all this core of knowledge from the red wine, to put together all that stuff from America.
Yes.
But we will have to learn. We need, to be complete, we have a lot to learn from, for example, African people.
Yes.
Because nobody knows more about them, speaking about rhythm and movement. And when I'm speaking about rhythm and movement, I'm not speaking only about drums or dance. It's like an attribute of the spirit, of creation.
Yes.
I mean, the planets move and organisms move in a rhythmical way. When we lose the rhythm, when the rhythm is not sustained enough, we be sick. So, I mean, we have a rhythm in the breathing. We have rhythm in the walking. Each organ have a rhythmic pulsing stuff. The heart is sending, it's not only a casualty, it's sending instruction to the brains, This is 4 channels between the heart and the brain. The heart is sending information constantly. One of the information is because it's keeping the stuff, arrhythmia. We need to learn a lot from the Vedas, from people from India, from China. They have, I mean, our own leaders.
Yes.
Aurelio, when he was feeling not so good for some few years ago, and it was no peyote, when 21 days deep treatment in an Ayurvedic clinic in India.
Mm-hmm.
We can't deny the pre-Christian, I mean, what the thing that is called for the 4Y, the origin of Enneagram, the whole Sufi stuff.
Yes.
Before the Islam, before that become institution. We need element. They know things that people didn't know, but I mean, you like to say, your heart have an instruction to do things. The heart have not the instruction of your lever. The lever have a function and instruction that doesn't have the heart and doesn't have the heart. Each part of the earth was given an instruction. It's a kind of vibration. In America, it's a relationship with the earth and living in peace and harmony with earth and spirit. The African know about movement, rhythm. Occident, we know, are master of the external energy. We can create a lot of stuff here.
Yes.
Yeah, and we absolutely ignorant about other people from Orient have a technology. Tibetan people, Asian people about the breathing,
yes.
The bardos, a lot of knowledge that the Chinese medicine working with energy and the channels in the body.
Elements,
I mean, amazing thing to be complete. We need to, no, I am only a peyotero because everything is that. Well, go for it. That's good. That's really good. But that doesn't make you complete. Yeah, you are a peyotero, but you are calling me through the mobile,
Exactly.
You are a peyotero, but you are coming to the ceremony by a car.
Exactly. Yes.
When I say that peyotero is a name to put together this kind of...
Yes, I understand.
That everything is there and I don't need anymore, like the peyote is going to solve everything. If you take ayahuasca, it's going to solve everything. No, man, yes. No. The ayahuasca and the peyote show us what we need to work, but we have to do the work.
Yes. So
the medicina maybe do the 10% of the work. Mm-hmm. The great spirit of Mysterio make a 10%, but the 80% of the work that have to do. So and so people, well, no, I go to medicine, I need to take little peyote and then everything is solved. When I say I'm envious, I'm jealous, it doesn't work to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I work to the peyote and take peyote or ayahuasca, no? And I mean, you get more work.
Yeah.
But you eat with more clarity or... So it's to keep the balance.
Yes.
Like Tolteca said, what is the secret? Well, we have to live where the way of the kingdom, the way of balance. We live in a duality war, and it's not there, and it's not only there. This is the relationship, like the one we're seeing. The things, the important things happening between the relation, in the relation. If I want to have a good relationship with you, it's not about what I think about you or you think about me. What I need to keep clear is this space. If this space here is clear,
Yes.
we are going to be happy. It's not we are going to get imbalanced. But we all the time think, or you or me. Or it's you or it's me. No, man, it's what's happening here. This is we are creating the energy here. Here is things here. Here is the story of my life. It's just because when you are close to some people in the metro, for example, if I in this distance with you, I don't feel nothing. But in the way that or electromagnetic, energetical body, making contact here, I can feel already if I feel good, close to you, or if I feel repelled. Don't you feel that there is people that you come and say, oh, better I sit there?
Yes, right away.
And another people like, I don't know, La Abuela Margarita, that she's sitting there, and you see your body, want to come closer. Like that. Or houses, there is place that you want to run away.
Yes.
See, I don't like here, we move. In another place, wow, I feel so good here.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. Well, having this global perspective of being able to pull from all these different teachings and traditions, that is what I'm most interested in. Because I know you see as well the similarities between the Indian traditions and the Native Americans and the South Americans and the Asians and all these things. There's so many similarities. And that is the reason why I have this program, this podcast, so I can interview different people of not just the Camino Rojo or Ayurvedic people or Australian or this or that. It's to show that we're
Australian.
all... Yes, exactly. The Aboriginals, oh my gosh. Again, so many powerful ancient practices and teachings. And for me, it's just an honor to be able to get to the point in my life where I'm open-minded enough to see the connection that everyone has with one another. So thank you so much, Carlos.
Thank you.
For conducting this interview with me, for allowing me to work with you in the way that we worked this weekend. And every time I see you now, I can only think more about the work we're going to do in the future together as well, hopefully. And I appreciate you, brother. Is there anything else you would like to express or share or say in this moment? You want to say anything about some events you have coming up or anything you want to share to close out this episode?
May it flower.
May it flower.
May it flower. May it flower. May it we be a part of that and follow and the flower in their own rhythm and essence and that and take action and be happy and healthy. And I hope that we see that we share more. We can work together here and there and again mighty flower in the whole planet, in the whole earth. Yes, because if not, it's going to be hard. For us, for the next generation.
May it flower. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Masters of Ceremony with Carlos Pussetto. What a wonderful conversation this was for me to have. I actually could care less if anybody else listens to it because I received so much from it myself. So for those who do appreciate this episode, thank you so much. Please feel free to leave a rating, a review, all that good stuff, because really it does make a difference. And I understand that this is something that is shared every week and something that is shared on probably every podcast platform, but it only takes a second and it really does allow this podcast to be spread out to more and more people. So I pray that some people enjoyed this episode, and I thank all of my supporters who have been taking the time every week, every episode to listen and support this podcast. If you want to learn more about Carlos, he's not a man who shares so much via social media and internet, but he has Facebook and Instagram, and those things will be tagged in the show notes. Again, thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode, and see you soon. Peace.